All right, y'all, we are back with another video. We got Candace Owens. Now, she had dropped this video saying that Donald Trump got upset with her. Now, we do know that Candace Owens is a big fan of Donald Trump. She loves her some Donald Trump. And I'm looking at this title and then saying why Trump got upset with her. So I'm like, whoa, what the world happened? Why did Trump get upset with Candace Owens? Because like I said, we all know that Candace supports Donald Trump 100%. We all know that. So this is why I said this title kind of threw me off of like, what the world happened? You know, so like I said, we're going to dive straight to this video. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody that's been leaving positive comments in the comment section. I really appreciate it. Everybody that just clicked on this video, I want to thank you for doing it. Really appreciate it. And like I said, without further ado, let's dive straight into this video and let's see what happened.
So in terms of my relationship with Donald Trump, you guys obviously know that I have been one of his most vocal supporters all throughout his presidency. He was a very big piece of my transformation from the left to the right. He's a big piece of my personal story and my personal awakening. And it wasn't Trump the man himself. Rather, it was he severed my belief in the mainstream media because they were not honest in their assessments of him. I was never going to be a person that voted for Trump until the media went very radical. And rather than saying he's not qualified in 2016, they said that he was a rapist and a sexist and a misogynist. And for me, that seemed like an overkill. And I thought to myself, okay, he can't be all of these things magically. He's been in the public sphere for a very long time. I began to sort of look beneath the surface and was shocked at what I found. I discovered that the mainstream media does routinely lie to us. In fact, not routinely, they are basically always lying to us to protect their own interests. So I was a vocal supporter of Trump, and I was hopeful that Black America could see through the lies that the mainstream media was putting upon them, trying to make us believe that he was a racist. And Brexit then came out of that. And so I'm very grateful for Donald Trump, and I'm very grateful that he was president of the United States. And I've been honored that I've been able to be on stage and honor him as the then president when he was the sitting president. Something toward the end of his presidency, I think, shifted. And it wasn't necessarily his fault. Obviously, COVID was a scam that was put upon the entire world. And I was a vocal critic of the COVID era. I was the first, and I stayed consistently. I really was the only in the beginning that thought that there was something fishy about the lockdowns. I vocally critiqued Trump and said that it was the wrong move for him as a sitting president to go through with a federal shutdown. Don't forget, he shut down. There was a federal shutdown for 2 weeks. And I understand that there was a lot of pressure on him. So I'm not saying this as, oh, how could he have possibly done this? When the entire world is telling you that there's a new virus and that virus can potentially kill everybody, which is what the mainstream media was saying, and that was being reinforced by Big Pharma and the quote unquote experts. It's very easy for me to sit back on my Twitter account as I did and say, do not shut down the government. Easier said than done when you're in that position and potentially dealing with the idea that a decision that you could make could lead to an incredible amount of human loss. But I did say it, and I remember at the time I was talking to other conservatives. You know, we all know each other, prominent conservatives, and they would say, I really agree with you on this, but, you know, we have to stand by Trump's side at this time. And I sort of thought to myself, I agree with the sentiment of that. I agree that when one of us goes through something, it is good for us to be silent sometimes and to let it pass, because it's not easy being in the public space, especially as Donald Trump was as the president of the United States. But another element was like, wait a minute, I'm America first. And that's why I decided to speak out early, because the implications to me were that if Trump shut down the government for 2 weeks, if it was a Republican president that did that first, then when the left came into power, because of course Republicans were not going to have power forever, they would always be able to look back and say, well, you guys did it first. So now it is totally acceptable that the federal government is assuming the power and the right to shut down businesses. I do not believe that the federal government, or any government, by the way, ever has the right to tell us that we can get up in the morning and go out to work. They ever have the right to shut down our businesses and to say that you don't have a right to earn a living. I am just so fundamentally opposed to that, and I spoke out against it. Then came, of course, me speaking out against the vaccines. My stance has been very clear on vaccines from the beginning. I am not vaccinated against COVID. My children are not vaccinated at all. I think I'm probably the most in your face about the dark history of vaccines. It does not begin with COVID. The scam does not begin with COVID. And I encourage you guys to dig deeper beneath the surface, but not exactly what we're here to talk about today. The point is that I made myself an enemy of the vaccine campaign, which at the time, I was the only person doing that. Fast forward to this show and me having an opportunity to sit down with Trump in 2021, and I talked to him about the vaccine. I wanted to have this conversation with him and to see exactly what it was that he was thinking. And I want you to listen to that clip from our previous interview. Here it is. We see the corruption, right? Yeah. It doesn't seem like anybody ever pays for the corruption. Yeah. And right now we're seeing corruption live, even in terms of big pharma, which is a huge topic on the minds of mothers especially. You're seeing what's happening at these school board meetings. Where do you stand on these vaccine mandates? And obviously I know that you are pro-vaccine. Obviously you did everything you could to get this vaccine out. I know where you stand on the vaccine. It was one of the greatest
achievements. We did it in less than 9 months.
And to be able to do that. Yeah, but now it's taken a twist, right? It's gotten, now we went from this is a good thing and people should have this option to military men, you're going to have to resign because you're not getting this vaccine. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I stand on, forget about the mandates, that people have to have their freedom, but at the same time, the vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind. We would have had in 1917, remember the Spanish flu, killed perhaps 100 million people. Actually, it ended the First World War because the soldiers a lot of people don't know that. The soldiers got so sick. It was a terrible thing. There were no vaccines. There was no anything. I came up with a vaccine, with 3 vaccines. Mm-hmm. All are very, very good. Came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. It was supposed to take 5 to 12 years.
And yet more people have died under COVID this year, by the way, under Joe Biden, than under you. And more people took the vaccine this year. So people are questioning how...
Well, no, the vaccine worked, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine. But it's still their choice. And if you take the vaccine, you're protected. Look, the results of the vaccine are very good. And if you do get it, it's a very minor form. People aren't dying when they take the vaccine.
So basically everything that he said there, and maybe he wasn't aware, was untrue. It was untrue to say that it was an effective vaccine. I understand he had some pride. He was the person that rushed this, right? But it wasn't true. And he was not listening to me try to give and present to him the sentiments of his own base. The base was feeling this way. The base was feeling like this vaccine was rushed. We don't know whether or not this vaccine works. We now know that it didn't work at all to make you immune. And why can't Trump understand that we are feeling that big pharma is taking over our country? Instead, he took an opportunity to say, but I gave you the vaccines and it's great because I gave it to you. So naturally, when this interview dropped, the regime media took a hold of it and said, even Trump says, go get your vaccine. Exactly what his base feared, right? Them trying to assert more power and more control. He just again endorsed, even though I gave him an opportunity to say, no, you know what? Everyone should have a right to decide what they want to do and maybe to add some clarity to the fact that he wasn't exactly sure, but he had to trust people. But nope, the regime seized on this moment and it went viral. So viral, in fact, that the then press secretary Jen Psaki tweeted, just going to echo former Trump here on the safety and efficacy of the vaccines. Merry Christmas Eve, go get boosted. So imagine that they're using Trump against his own base in that moment to say, go get your vaccines. Even your king, that was kind of hurt.
Wow. Now, the thing is about it, like I said, I understand what Trump was doing because think about it. If he never said anything about like you should take your vaccine or anything like that, then he probably would have felt like the whole world would have been just blaming him like for not at least trying to get people to take the vaccine. And then he felt like that the world would have blamed him if he didn't shut down like certain businesses and like, you know what I'm saying, like the federal shuts down and stuff like that. I guess Trump he had that pressure built up on him like, okay, everybody telling me I need to do this, then if I don't do it, and then something go wrong, and then all blame come back on him. So, like I said, I can kind of get what Trump was doing. Anybody in that situation, and you got the whole world say, hey, this right here need to be shut down because COVID, because of this, because of that, and it's like, you the president, so it's like, if I don't do it and then something go horribly wrong, I'm to blame for it. So I can kind of see the reason Trump did that. And another thing is that Candace made a point about, she was saying that everybody was calling him a misogynist or the R word. They were calling Trump all of these things right here. And like I said before, all that stuff right there was a lie. I've never believed that Trump was the R word. I never even just brought that across my mind to even call that man that or even think that man was that. And like I said, that right there was the only reason that Joe Biden won, because the media painted Donald Trump as the R word and all of these names, and was the reason why everybody went ahead and voted for Joe Biden. And now everybody that voted for Joe Biden looking crazy. And then, like I said, I still can't get out of this video of watching Joe Biden talking about, if y'all having a hard time figuring out if you for me or you for him, then you're not black. And you can't, and and another thing Joe Biden say, hey, you can't go to a donut shop unless you got an Indian accent. Like, what? Like, he said so many things that I did not even know about. I don't even know if anybody even knew about them quotes and some of them things, them sayings and statements that Joe Biden was making. But like I said, I don't really see this big. I think some of this right here can be a big misunderstanding. I think Candace Owens and Donald Trump, I think they are, you know what I'm saying? I think they good, you know. Everybody go through things, whether you friends, whether you cousins, or whatever the case may be. Everybody go through something. You ain't gonna always agree 100%, you know. But let's keep it going.
She's being tongue-in-cheek here, obviously. Even your king says it's great, and all of you guys are dumb if you don't get it. Naturally, having seen this, the Trump base was very upset. In fact, I started getting inundated. This was trending on Twitter at the time. I started getting inundated with people that were essentially saying to me, Candace, Trump has turned his back on us. Trump is now shilling for big pharma. Trump is probably getting kickbacks at one point, they were saying. He's probably getting kickbacks from Pfizer or Moderna. That's the only reason he would possibly be ignoring everyone that's speaking out and saying that they're being injured from the vaccine, people that are saying that they're going to lose their jobs, going to lose their livelihood. He has sold us out. And me being faithful to Trump, said, let me do a live Instagram to explain to them my honest sentiments about this interview, because the truth is I do not think that Trump sold out his base for vaccines. I think that that's a ridiculous assessment. I thought that was a ridiculous assessment. And
see, that's the problem right there. It's like people always trying to put Trump in a bad light. They always trying to tell you that he's doing something wrong. Here's the thing, like, as soon as somebody thinks Donald Trump is doing something wrong, that's when they want to tell everybody, hey, Trump is this, Trump is that. Did you see what he just did? But when Trump do something good, you don't hear from him then. They ain't out telling you that, hey, man, Trump just did this for all of us, man. I'm so happy. They never come to you like when he doing something good. They try to wait and see when he done did something bad and then try to tell you to react to it. Man, it's just crazy.
My truer belief was simply that for whatever reason, people from the older generation, everyone I spoke to, no matter how far red they were, deep red they were, about above the age of 60, they all just got their vaccines and said vaccines are great, right? Yeah. And they're from a different time, right? Where I feel that the media successfully campaigned for that generation to believe that all vaccines are good, no matter how many of them that you get. I said this on my Instagram live. Here's what I said verbatim.
And he believes that because he comes from a generation, like people, you oftentimes forget like how old Trump is. He comes from a generation. I've seen other people that are older have the exact same perspective. Like they came from a time before TV, before internet, before being able to conduct their independent research, you know, and everything that they read in a newspaper that was pitched to them, like they believed that that was a reality. And one of those things was, you know, this push for vaccines and believing that people were going to die without vaccines. And so I believe that his support of the vaccine is genuine and it's not based in any corruption at all. I think he actually believes those things. And people that are saying, how is he ignoring all the people that are being injured? And, you know, people are sending Rumble videos and all of these, you know, websites, obscure websites. I believe also that he only reads the mainstream media news. believe it or not. I do not believe that Trump reads or partakes in any other news sources. I don't believe that Trump is on the internet, or that he necessarily uses the web to try to find obscure websites. I think that he just relies on typical mainstream sources. So I don't think that there's anything evil going on there. I just wanted to say that because so many donors, supporters of his are kind of like questioning where all of this is coming from. And I think he just genuinely believes that. And he needs to sit down and, have a full conversation with someone. I was interviewing him in that circumstance, but he needs to have a larger conversation to really understand what's going on and why so many people are just horrified.
So there it is. I gave my honest assessment there, and that was my attempt to defend him against people that believe that he had sold out, and I stand by that assessment. I believe that because Trump is 70 years old, he does not get his information from Reddit. He is not getting his information from sources that are not mainstreamed. And I know for a fact that there are people on his team that bring him the news headlines in the morning, which is totally normal. That's what happens when you're president. They try to highlight, there's a lot of news sources, and he goes through that and he accepts that as a narrative. So that's why you would see so many tweets of him hitting back at the New York Times, the Washington Post. He's actually getting these headlines so that he can respond to these headlines live. Nothing wrong with that, except there was something wrong with it apparently. Trump actually got upset with me because, and here's the great irony, the richest irony, the Daily Beast ran a headline regarding that live Instagram that you just heard from me. And the headline was, Candace Owens says Trump is pro-vax because he's too old to understand the internet. I never once called Trump too old. I never once said that Trump could not understand the internet. And yet somehow he got that information and believed it to be true. He thought that I said that he was too old and that he couldn't understand the internet and did not quite get the information that actually what I was saying was a defense of him so that his supporters would still believe in him. Not only was he just mad, by the way, he then, during a golf session with some mutual friends of ours, had a person next to him who was egging this on, saying to Trump, and I know this because, again, this is a mutual friend, aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? And eventually he was like, yeah, I'm so mad at Candace. I'm so mad at Candace. And this got back to me that he was upset with me, that he was angry at me. And the next time that I saw him, he was quite rude to me. He was actually rude to me. I'm telling you this personal story because I think it is something.
It always somebody egging something on, trying to get this man to react and get people to react in general. Are you mad at Candace? Are you mad at Candace? See, a lot of times, you can do a whole interview and some people will just take little sound bites out of what you said and make it seem like this is what you were saying. Like in a rude way. I don't know why, people just do this stuff, man. Like, they had nothing else better to do. Now, you sit here egging this stuff on with this man while he trying to play golf, talking about, is you mad at Candace? Is you mad at Candace? Like, what?
That made me, for the first time, question him as a person. So you have an individual that spent years defending you, right? And that individual gave you a completely kind and fair interview. You said something yourself that your base didn't like, and you somehow transformed that into something that I did wrong. That's unacceptable. That is not being a leader. That is not owning things that you did wrong. That is not owning that you misunderstood something about your base. That's not growing. That's not developing. In fact, he should have tried to understand why the base was so upset with him, which would have led into the fact that his base is not pro-COVID vaccine. It's that simple. I understood that. I could have told him that. But at that moment, I realized that he's not listening. Who is this guy next to him trying to egg him on to be angry at me for trying to defend him, to say that he's not a shill, to say, no, actually, I think that he genuinely does support the vaccines. He did genuinely support the vaccines. So all of this going on made me, again, question him if he was becoming too angry, which is to say that when Trump went into the election in 2016, he was having fun. Right? He was naming people, giving them fun names, enjoying the base, having a good time. I would even say in 2020, you could feel the energy. It was electric. I think after the 2020 election and because of the shock of all the things that happened and the answers that we never really feel that we got, this sinking realization that we might be actually losing our country, I think that it pushed him into an angry space where he doesn't trust anybody, where he doesn't listen to anybody, where he's almost likely to believe that everybody's trying to turn their back on him and stab him in the back. And again, I don't believe that that's leadership, but I never spoke on that because I thought to myself, I think that that's a lot of ego that Trump is having right now, but maybe I'm being egotistical. Maybe me even speaking out about this is me being offended and butthurt that he was so rude to me. He was so rude to me on the basis of what he said. But after time, I've realized that no, these discussions that everybody is having, these conservative influencers are having behind Trump's back should be also had with the public as well.
Yep.
You have a right to know that. You have a right to take that information and judge it as you will. And to question whether...
That's why I say I don't really... See, I like I said, I just see it like it's just something like they probably didn't agree with. But if you look at it, it seems like people take stuff out of context and then they just try to... You know how the media, they try to paint it the way they want it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine just having somebody sitting there egging something on while your mind is not even on Candace Owens. You're trying to have fun with your friends, and then you got this one nagging friend that's constantly, is you mad at Candace? Is you mad at Candace? Did you hear what she said? Did you hear what she said? Hey, golly, bro. But like I said, the way I see it, though, I think it's something that they can get past because I think they still friends. You know what I'm saying? So it's this right here is like, ain't nothing to really, stay mad over. He got his ways of thinking and what he believe in. She got her ways of thinking and what she believe in. There's nothing wrong with it.
whether or not there has been a change in Trump. How could there not be? How could you suffer a defeat and know in your heart that a lot of things that happened regarding that defeat were wrong, even if you don't believe that what happened in Maricopa County during the election was fishy? I do personally believe that. You at least believe that the Hunter Biden laptop suppression led to different results in the election. Of course it did. Many people said that if they had known that that laptop was real, they would have voted differently. So he has every right to be angry. Mm-hmm. But if you stay at a place of anger, right, you are ignoring everything that is going on around you. You're no longer looking and assessing things in the way that you should be assessing them because you're holding on to this almost vengeful spirit, right? That is the question that I've had with Trump. Is he going to get over the trauma of the election of 2020 and begin to paint a vision for 2024? What is his vision for 2024? Is it, I'm back? Because that's not a vision to me. It needs to be more than I'm back, right? And I think that what's happening behind closed doors, people believing that they're not sure who he's listening to. Maybe there's a paranoia potentially that's setting in, that he believes that his friends, now me, oh my God, how could you say I was too old? I read the headline on the Daily Beast. That's what she said. I didn't say that, right? If you thought I said that, you should have been a decent human being. You should have picked up the phone and you should have called me, right? Because that's what I would have done. I would have reached out to you to clarify things. That's what it means to be a person. That's what it means to be a friend. That's what it means to be a colleague, not even a friend. What it means to be a colleague is to actually have relationships with people, to honor the relationships that you have with people that don't take place in the public sphere. But he didn't do any of those things. And I think that the MAGA movement is reflecting Trump. I think there is a trepidation that I'm sensing in Trump. And I think that that trepidation is evidenced by him taking a random swing at DeSantis last week. I don't think it was helpful, even though DeSantis won Florida handily. He's not running against DeSantis right now, right? DeSantis is running for governor. I know Trump voted for him and all of that's great. Why take a random swing, right? I think the base is feeling that trepidation. They're not sure who to listen to on endorsements. Do you listen to DeSantis? Do you listen to Trump? Or do we listen to these influencers? Are these influencers listening to DeSantis? Are these influencers listening to Trump? They're wondering about what the leadership looks like. And I think that I am not at all under any impression that Trump can't win in 2024. No. What I am saying is that Trump needs to take a good look in the mirror, and he needs to take a good look in the room, and he needs to read the room accurately. He needs to take a look at those that are around him that are inspiring this paranoia and making him believe that everyone's out to get him, including his friends. And he needs to exercise a tiny bit more humility when he gets something wrong. Trump is not perfect. I'm not perfect. I get things wrong. I edit. I say, thank you guys for bringing me this new information. I hadn't realized that. And
everybody does.
There's still
wrong.
a period where he could
perfect.
transform.
Ain't nobody perfect.
But I think the results of last night's election, which are still coming in, show that we aren't sure. All right, guys, next portion of the show is going to be available exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. I'm going to be talking about my views on legalizing mushrooms, plus sharing a personal story about shrooms, as they're called in the street.
Is that shrooms, as they called in the streets? Oh, man. Wow. Man, that right there was a lot right there to unfold. I seen this video and I'm like, whoa, because I know Candace is a big supporter of Donald Trump. And I was trying to figure out, like, what did she do the reason Trump was upset with her? But like I said, everybody has their views and what they think. She was just trying to let him know what she thought about the vaccine and stuff like that. And of course, Trump didn't agree. He kind of, you know what I'm saying, went with what he thought was right. But that wasn't why he was mad. Of course, he was mad because somebody, you know, switched up Candace's words and then wrote it out and made it seem like that she was saying that he was too old and all that type of stuff. So, you know, it always something like that. People are always doing something. That's why I said, man, the media, man, they do what they want to do. They just switch your words around, fit their own narrative in it, and there you go. You know, but that right there was crazy. But like I said, I still think that Donald Trump and Candace are good friends. Like I said, it was just a misunderstanding and stuff like that. So that's why I said I ain't really nothing really to worry about. But I definitely had to check this out to see exactly what was going on. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about it down below in the comment section. We have made it to the end. I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.